Welcome, welcome, welcome.
We should really write words to that.
I think we need to do our own song, actually. I like that song, but we need to do our own.
Yeah.
We're fully capable of doing all the music for it, and all the singing that is in this one, we could replicate.
Yeah. Maybe us singing is not a great idea, but
Well, there's no singing in that song, so
yeah,
I think we can handle it.
us. Yeah.
How you doing?
Surviving. Yourself?
All right. Weather's finally nice. It's been nice here. We'll go through some of the things that are happening in Duluth after we go through our initial segment, but we're going to have some good times tonight. I hope we're going to be giving people some information they have not heard yet. So anybody who's watching that hasn't heard this stuff, hold on, because we're going to go over some stuff that I didn't know about until Dave brought it to my attention, and it's some good stuff. So shall we launch into our main topic for tonight, the thing that you enlightened me about yesterday, and I think I raged at it for 10, 15 minutes straight in our private conversation.
Well, I thought it was. I thought he's normally our comic relief for the program, and now he's just a dumb person.
This guy's costing us lots of money. So what we're talking about is Governor Tim Walz had to go and speak before a Congressional commission. I think it was a week ago or 2 weeks ago. And so he went out there and testified in front of them where they asked questions. And if you ever watched any of these congressional hearings, what they are is senators and congresspeople yelling at a person that's sitting there supposedly answering questions and not really being given any questions to answer. So typically what you do is if you have to prepare for this, what you have to learn how to do is say, well, I don't know, or I can't answer that right now, or what I really want to talk about is this. You don't actually answer a question. Nobody does. But Governor Walz prepped for this. And what he did was they engaged a private law firm to help him prep for this. And now he's charging that back to the state of Minnesota in the tune of $400,000 for him to go out to testify with what should just be an easy thing for you to go out there and answer. I could go out there and answer one of these things with no prep time whatsoever. Why did he feel the need for legal counsel to prep for him? And why did he use people outside the state of Minnesota? We have lots of lawyers on retainer and working for the state. There's no reason he can't just use one of our attorneys. And he used the attorney general at first, our great attorney general who's got nothing better to do than file lawsuits against the federal government. Well, he said, well, this isn't my expertise. I can't help you with this. Right. What is the expertise that is required to prepare to answer questions about what you did as governor during the pandemic? And what was the sanctuary state status too, right?
Yeah, it was mostly illegal immigration, status of immigration and illegal immigration, and what the laws were.
So this is for his preparation. In addition to legal fees, the governor's office incurred travel expenses for 5 individuals, including governor, his general counsel, a communications aide, and 2 state troopers acting as security. The total for these travel expenses has not been disclosed, potentially adding to the financial controversy surrounding this episode. Well, yeah, it's going to add a lot. That's airfare, lodging, meals, you know. It's ridiculous that this guy is charging us back to answer questions about what he did and why he is such a disaster for the state of Minnesota. To the tune of $500,000 or more. We'll see when it actually gets all released.
Yeah, that's just what we know about. I spent the day going through his donor list to see if these lawyers were part of his donor list, but they didn't show up as a donor. So he knows how to hide if there was any quid pro quo going on, he knows how to hide it a lot better than I would expected. So,
well, apparently this is a a law firm they're the ones they have to go to. They've already signed some agreement with them.
Correct.
What a deal. So for 4 hours of testimony, $400,000. That's $100,000 for prepping per hour for this testimony. That he didn't say anything either. Walz, if it's just training him to act like a buffoon, a befuddled, wandering mind man, he's got that down already. I don't know what the actual training is about here.
Yeah, well, he had nothing to prep for. There's nothing to prep for. He should have known all the laws. All he did was say, well, we don't have any sanctuary laws, so there's nothing to study.
Right.
He shouldn't have had to study anything. But
well, I hope you feel good if you were working today to know that part of the time you were at work, you get to help Governor Tim Walz cover his butt for stupid things he's been doing for the state.
Right.
I can't summarize it any better than that. So I hope you enjoyed that time at work.
Yeah. So, I mean, that 430 legal, probably, another 20, 30 in other fees. So
right.
I could easily see it being $500,000 just for him to sit there and, look like a buffoon for 4 or 5 hours. So
it'll be interesting to see the meal tickets too. They probably went out to the, best restaurants in DC and probably stayed in the nicest hotels. And we're paying for his private security apparently too. I don't understand how that works. He's governor of Minnesota who's coming after him out in DC.
Right.
So that I wanted to make sure that everybody heard that first, because this is our governor of this state who I have been proudly against before he got elected the first time. And I've never wavered on that. And now other people are waking up to it because they've been, again, this is the problem with the electorate in this state, in this city in particular. It's just go with the flow. Whatever's there, we're going to vote for him again.
Yeah. And that's the biggest thing that's got to change.
If we want to survive as a state, it certainly does.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're going to skip off of Walz for a while. We'll come back to him a little bit, kind of next to him, but not directly on him. But we'll go to the local Duluth news. So Downtown Days was today. Did you get a chance to get down there at all, Dave?
No, I just coming down here for this, for the podcast, and just as everybody was closing up. Mm-hmm. So I didn't really get to see much downtown.
It wasn't a lot different from last year, as far as I could tell. I saw a big promo for it. We're going to have all these vendors and everything. It looked basically the same as last year. There's food trucks down here. A lot of booths that are very specialized that I can't understand why they're here, but they are. So, it's okay. There was some live music. There was a car show last night I didn't get to go to because I went to a thing at Clyde Iron for American Experiment where we were talking about Minnesota DOGE, and we'll go into that, I think, in a little bit. And we'll go into that. We can go into that now. Yeah. So, and this wasn't specific to Duluth. It was just that they were here to talk about this. And the funniest thing was there were protesters outside. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that this rose to the level of people actually spending their afternoons on a beautiful day. It was beautiful out yesterday to come down and protest when you couldn't even see them.
But what did the sign say?
I don't know. They were tucked away. I just saw that they were there. It's their right to do that. They weren't getting in our way. They weren't disruptive. That's fine. But I don't understand the point of it.
But that's the way the protesting should be, though. They didn't affect you. They didn't. Right. They didn't vandalize your car. They didn't get in your face. They didn't disrupt. They just were outside with signs showing their whatever towards the event.
Well, what they need to do is just take it one step further so I can read their signs, because I couldn't read their signs. I don't know what they were protesting. But
yeah, and that's the big thing.
You're protesting a group of people coming together to talk about ways to help save money, make the government stop spending as much money as they are. I don't know what there is to protest about that, Republican or Democrat side. You can argue about the ways you do it, but the concept itself, this should be something everybody's in agreement with.
Yeah, and every single Every single governor, every single president that's ever gone for office has said the exact same thing. Well, I'm going to stop waste and abuse. Okay. We finally got a president that's doing that, and now they're protesting it.
Well, they're not protesting him. They're protesting this. This is a Minnesota effort.
Yeah, but still, they're protesting the concept of let's make the government quit wasting money and be so inefficient.
It's mind-boggling to think that people would be against the government being more efficient.
Yeah.
And finding places like there's fraud and waste. Well, it's very tough to find out about waste. You can find it by finding certain things that are being funded that make no sense. But the fraud is the first thing you have to do to weed out all the fraud, because Minnesota is rife with fraud. Completely. We've seen that in the last couple of years. I mean, look at Feeding Our Future again, $250 million of lost money to everybody here in the state. That's easy to look at and say, yeah, there's fraud, and we should cut that out. We should cut out, the fraud part of it. There's waste too. There's a lot of work to be done to figure out what waste is. But one of my things that I'm going to add to my bills is coming up with a team, if we don't have one already, that's sole purpose is to constantly look for places where we can make cuts in spending and not give them. So it's like it would be the same thing, but you wouldn't want to call it DOGE because people get just irate about that. But why not have a department that they don't necessarily have orders. They can't go and cut things, but they can make recommendations so that the legislation and the governor can look at that and go, okay, hey, look, here's some easy things that we could look at to get rid of. And maybe we do and maybe we don't, but at least we're being presented with those.
And that's what the Minnesota Democrats did in this session was shoot down the adding another committee to stop that.
Yeah, it passed in the Senate, and then the House, not one Democrat. And that includes who, Dave? Our representatives in Duluth voted against a commission that would go after fraud and waste in the government, specifically fraud. So congratulations to Pete and Alicia for stopping us from eliminating fraud in the government. Just good job, guys. Pete, I got to say, as a freshman, you're doing a hell of a job there as a Democrat.
Yeah, you follow orders just perfectly.
Yep. So that was what I was doing last night. I didn't get to go see the car show. Now wrapping back to downtown days. It's a nice little event, and it had really good weather except for this morning. It rained. It was a nice rainfall this morning, but that cleared up, I think, by 9:00. And after that, it's beautiful now. It's got blue skies outside right now.
Right.
But it's over. It's over now. They used to do it on Fridays. They're not doing it on Fridays anymore. So it was just yesterday and today. It coincided with the tall ships coming in. So I was able to walk down there, and that's the picture that we have for this show is me just getting a picture of a tall ship coming in through the under the lift bridge today. But it's kind of cool. I'm going to walk down there tomorrow. They're here till Sunday. I think they were blowing off, fake cannons because I could hear the large booms, which in this city, I can't believe they allow or even are happy with. But
maybe they didn't know. Don't worry, next year it'll be on the docket for the city council to not do.
Right. So if you get a chance, if you're watching this and you want to come down, it's pretty cool. I went down there. They do a really good job of sectioning off places down here now that you can only get in if you pay to get in. So there's lots of places you can walk down the pier, walk down and see these boats. They're pretty cool. They're small. I haven't seen the big ones yet, but I only walked down there today and they just started coming in. I think last night we had a couple, but there's nothing that impressive yet as far as size goes. I'd like to see a big one.
But they don't really make those boats, 1,000-footers like we're used to as far as the grain ships are.
No, they're not going to be that big.
They're never going to be that big. So, their sails would be higher than the lift bridge itself. So
yeah, that's true. All right. Let's go down. I have something for the Minnesota Legislature, and it's not really Minnesota legislature, but I'm going to put it in there anyway. Let me bring this up. First, let me find it. Oh, yeah, I won't show this. So, all these Canadian wildfires we've been having?
Yeah,
these
makes this
pains in the butt.
Makes the sky all orange and
yeah, and makes it so you can't breathe down here.
right.
And it's been happening really a lot. The last 5 years, I think we've had something like this happen each year. So, sorry, I just cannot find this window I want to show. Here it is. So we've got 4 Minnesota GOP representatives writing a letter to Canada, a Canadian ambassador, kind of saying, get your crap together, would you? What are you doing about this? And it is Brad Finstead, Tom Emmer, Michelle Fischbach, and Pete Stauber, and then Wisconsin reps Glenn Grothman and Tom Tiffany. They wrote this letter. And it's talking about these wildfires and, it's our safety. We want to go outside and safely breathe air, but we can't. And every year it keeps getting worse and worse. And some of this is wood management, is forest management. Some of it's arson. But start doing something about it, because I'm tired of having this every year. As soon as it starts getting nice out, the skies are brown. I can't breathe. You can actually literally smell the smoke.
Well, yeah, you're right. It's all forest management. They're not allowing the loggers to go in there. The conservatives, or not the conservatives, but the environmentalists have decided that logging is horrible, and you shouldn't be able to log. You shouldn't be able to create fire breaks. You shouldn't be able to clean the dead brush that's in there. And that's what's causing these gigantic fires. That's why, it just slowly gets worse every year, because the environmentalists don't exactly know why we were doing that in the first place. If you look at the 1919 fires that raged from Hinckley all the way into Cloquet and up in the Pike Lake area, that's when they decided, hey, we need to actually create fire breaks so we can stop all these gigantic fires. Right. And now we're going right back to it. History is repeating itself, basically. So
right.
they need to do that.
It really is the forest cleanup. And they saw that in California. And Trump actually called them out on it. He's like, you need to clean up your forest. And they just laughed at him.
Yep.
No, we don't. And then, with all that dry brush, it's not rocket science here. This is pretty simple stuff. You leave a bunch of dead wood that's dried out sitting on the ground. Once it lights, it's going up.
Yeah. For an experiment, do a little bonfire cooking s'mores in your backyard. Try to burn a wet log versus trying to burn a dry log.
Right. Exactly.
It's very simple.
Let's see. And then the next thing I wanted to go into is, what have I been talking about since I ran for city council? Property taxes. So let's listen to this gentleman from Florida.
Up in Washington, doing studies to know about things and get results about things that we already know the answers to. The governor has said very clearly that he supports a property tax decrease and eliminating property taxes in the state. I actually support that. I think that would be a huge boon for Florida. Not only do we not have an income tax, but then doing away with the property tax would be great for the economy in the state of Florida. We don't need some type of study done to know that eliminating property taxes is gonna help Floridians that live in our great state that own property. So obviously, the study is unnecessary. He's made his position very clear. I support his position on that. I think reducing property taxes versus reducing the sales tax is a much better way to go for residents of the state of Florida.
Yeah.
I like how they call them Floridians. It sounds like just people who like fluoride to me.
Right. Yeah.
But property taxes are basically rent you pay to the government for a home you already own. And that's absolutely right. You pay taxes for it every year, and they keep going up every year. And if you don't pay them, the government will take your house. So I don't know how you say you own land if you have to perpetually pay an amount every year to stay living on that land. That's renting. That's just a big down payment to rent that land,
Basically, yeah.
which you already paid taxes on when you bought.
Right.
Anyway. So yeah, it's getting traction from other places, which is nice to see, because I would love to see that in this state.
Yeah, Michigan, Colorado, I think Idaho or Washington State up in the Northwest. They're also talking about eliminating property taxes.
Yeah.
But are they talking eliminating the state part of the sales tax or the property tax, or are they talking all of it all together?
I don't think there's a federal component. It's a state, local.
Yeah, so
thing.
you have a state part, and you have a school part, and you have a city part.
Well, the school part is part of this. Well, I don't know how that works.
Yeah, so that's something we got to look into. When he says remove property taxes, is that just their version, their section of what we're paying right now?
Yeah.
Does the county still get a cut? Does the school still get a cut? That's what I'd like to find out, because it should be all gone.
Yes, I agree. And look, and you heard what he said too. We already don't have an income tax in this state. Getting rid of property tax would be great. Look at us. We get to pay every tax. There's no tax that Minnesota doesn't like, and a lot of it.
Yep. That's why we're losing all of our big businesses.
So I was at that thing last night, and the guy was showing up some graphs, and I actually have some. I was going to prepare him for this, but we're going to have Tom Emery from American Experiment on next Thursday. We're going to talk to him actually for the show. So we're going to bring some of this stuff up when he's on. But part of this was they were talking about who's coming into the state and who's leaving the state. And the only groups that were getting into the state that had an increase was people who made $25,000 or less. Every other group that made above $25,000 was leaving the state. Yeah. So you're losing people with wealth, and you're gaining people who want to suck off the wealth. And that's a bad equation right there.
That's going to end poorly.
Right. So, I wanted to bring this up so this is now under Minnesota news. And it's not really Minnesota news itself. It's actually Florida news again. So maybe I want to just be a little more like Florida. But I want to show you a news article about a guy somebody broke into his house and he defended his house. And here's what happened.
Happened around 9 o'clock last night on Hickory Hammock Circle in Bradenton. Deputies say surveillance video shows two men trying to get in through the back of the home. Now, they say the homeowner saw it happening, got his gun, and fired at least 3 shots. A bullet hit one of the men. That man later died in the hospital. A canine deputy found the other suspect a few blocks away, and he is in jail this noon.
Okay, so two guys enter his home. He gets his pistol out, shoots one of them. He dies. They catch the other guy. Now, here is the sheriff, I believe, talking about this. Now, see if this is any different. If you would see any difference in the Minnesota response as opposed to the Florida response. Here's a Florida response.
I praise this husband for doing what he needed to do to protect his home and protect his family. And if you're going to be that brazen to come into my home, once again, you should expect that you're going to be shot.
Happened around 9 o'clock last night.
You should expect you're going to get shot.
Yep.
What would happen in Minnesota with that? They would be putting that homeowner in custody right now.
Because Minnesota law says you have to retreat.
You have to run.
Yep.
Let them take everything they want. Just run away. Don't defend yourself. You don't know what their intent is. That doesn't matter. If you can turn tail and get out of there, you should. And even if you can't, we're going to find a reason to charge you with it.
Yeah, I mean, it's so ridiculous, and it makes so much sense to be able to protect yourself.
Right. Let's see. So remember when they say there's no voter fraud in Minnesota, and that's all just fake and made up, and
yeah,
we don't have to worry about that. You're just a conspiracy theorist. Well, let's see.
Minnesota has the the most protected
Defendant pleads
in the
guilty.
world.
Defendant pleads guilty in Minnesota voter registration fraud scheme. Ronnie Williams admitted to his involvement in a conspiracy to create fictitious identities and information for use in Minnesota voter registration applications. Well, I can't believe it.
Right.
So it is happening in this state. And this is the guy they caught.
And he
I'm
doesn't
glad
live
our-
in Minnesota.
Say what?
He doesn't live in Minnesota either.
Oh.
Well, he used to. Him and his wife used to, and then they moved to, I think the article said Montana, and they thought that was a better place to start, defrauding Minnesota voting systems. So.
Sure. Well, they said that the extensive checks in Minnesota's voter registration process ensured that the fraudulent applications were immediately flagged. I'm going to put a pin in this, and I'm going to come back to it after a couple stories about what they have to do. You have to sign up when you register. You have to put your name and either your social security number or your driver's license.
Yeah.
That's when you register to vote, I believe. You automatically are registered when you get your driver's license, right?
Yeah, nowadays, yes. Voter registration is automatic in Minnesota nowadays. Yep.
All right. So just keep that in mind as we go into the next thing. But not the next thing. I'll come back to it in a couple articles here. Secretary of State backs legislation to expand ranked choice voting options to all cities and counties. So that's great. I think it's been proven that, well, I know for a fact that this is something the Democrats love and the Republicans hate.
Yep.
Well,
it only works. It works good for Democrats in a Democrat states. It would work good for Republicans in Republican states. It would just guarantee a Democrat, because if you have two Democrats and they're both getting 30% of the vote, and then you have one Republican, then what's left is 40%. The Republican would win. But if you rank choice, then that would guarantee that a Democrat would always win an election.
Right.
And that's all he's really concerned about, not ranked choice.
he wants the Democrats in power.
Correct.
Some of the things that are, so I looked this up, some of the things that are bad about it, complexity and confusion. People don't understand this when they go to vote. This is not how they typically will vote. Increased costs and administrative burdens. Switching to this, you may have to train elected officials, educating voters. It can be expensive, longer counting times, uncertainty and lack of transparency. Potential for tactical voting. That's the big thing. This is, we're going to figure out a way that there's no way a Republican can win no matter what.
Correct.
And then legitimacy, effectiveness. They had this in Alaska when that last plank of wood woman won as governor, and they've been paying for it ever since.
Yep.
So, and voter fatigue. It just is, voters have to learn everything and then put them in order, and it's just too much. So I think we've had a system of learning of voting for many years. I think we should kind of stick with it. But that's a conservative viewpoint too. We don't want to shake things up because we've seen how bad it can be, but some people like that.
But there was also rumors that he was planning on running for Tina Smith's position too. So we got to wait and see on that also. So as a Democrat, he claims he's impartial, but every time he runs as a Democrat. So
yeah, right. I don't have an affiliation, but I will run every time as this.
Yeah,
that makes sense. I'm going to show you a video, and I'm going to tell you who it is. I want you to react to the video first, and then, and I'll tell you who this is. And this is our friend. The name of the handle is Retard Finder. So here we go.
Struggles and the movements that seek a world of justice, equality, and peace, that seek to dismantle the United States. I hope you seek to dismantle the United States. And if that isn't your politics, okay. I speak as if everybody has this commitment. And the thing is that you should listen to Indigenous people when they're telling you that this is the goal. And that not only is this the goal, but this is the starting point. Because I think Nick articulated this very clearly. Decolonization is the only thing that is going to save us.
Decolonization is the only thing that's going to save us. She doesn't say from what. She doesn't say why that's going to work. She just has a little mantra that she's going to say. And she's going to come on here in her little moccasins and her little whatever this is and lecture us. And if she says this, you got to listen to her. You got to listen to the little lady that's talking.
Well, there's people plotting too.
Yeah, there are.
Is the only thing that's going to save us as a planet. And everyone should just be on board with it. No questions asked. I mean, Indigenous women struggle so hard under the settler regime that is the United States.
She's throwing so many words out there that don't mean anything to what she's saying.
Right.
The settler regime. What is that?
Yeah.
And the way that heteropatriarchy ties so closely into that.
She's got every buzzword you could put it. She's vomiting, just dialogue from her latest, communist brochure that she got.
And if an Indigenous woman is telling you that decolonization is the solution, and also that there is real hope and that Palestine offers us, we said this in the speech, Palestine is the alternative path for Native nations. And we need to lean into that, lean into the fact that colonizers are scared. Lean in to scaring them and making them feel uncomfortable, right? It is because we have power.
This woman is a blithering idiot.
Yeah.
So let me get so I'm sorry. I don't want to, color your opinion of it. What do you think, Dave? Do you think she's on track? Think she's got it down?
Well, she's obviously been brain teased by somebody to, let her create such a horrible image of, what America is. I mean, who sat her down and fed her all these stupid thoughts?
Yeah.
I mean, is it bad parenting? Is it the school system wherever she's from? Or is this just the Democrat Party telling her what to say and she spews it out like, she's a, part of Minnesota or Duluth's coalition?
I think it's really funny that her talking point is, if an Indigenous woman is telling you this, which never finishes a sentence, but basically comes down to, you should listen. Why?
Yeah.
Can I just tell her, well, if a white guy is telling you this, you should listen. What would her reaction be to that? She'd freak out. What does she think she's special? What makes her so uniquely clairvoyant of what has to happen? And I was going to tell you who she works for. University of Minnesota.
Oh,
so congratulations, your tax dollars are going to fund this kind of crap that goes on at the university. They're not getting one more cent from me until they start closing this stuff up. They have got to clear up this kind of stuff.
Well, yeah.
Well, I say they won't get
amount
another
of money.
cent.
Well, I mean, we're back to the waste, fraud, DOGE thing for Minnesota. We're given this. I've seen where do we give them the Maine University gave them $1.3 billion for this? No,
right.
We could just save $1.3 billion just like that. Because they're paying her huge money to spew this garbage,
Yeah.
So,
well, I say too, I won't pay another dime for it. No, I'm being forced to pay another dime for it because I'm forced through my taxes to pay the University of Minnesota to do this. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and ask a Democrat if they support paying taxes, if all of the money is going to go to the RNC, the Republican Party of Minnesota.
Right.
Would they support that then too? Because it's basically the same thing.
Right.
We're forced by law to give the state money, and the state gives it to, the Democrat Party, which is called the Maine University of Minnesota. So.
Yeah. Right. All right. Well, enough of that insanity.
Yeah.
So I'm going to circle back now to Tim Walz a little bit and talk about some of the illegal nationals that are in our country and what they're doing. So let me share this first one. 2 men are charged with nearly 900 pounds of meth in Minneapolis, part of a Mexican drug operation. So Walz's state, which is not a sanctuary state, has this stuff going on. And 900 pounds of meth, that's going to cause a lot of damage to a lot of people.
Well, did that article list the street value of it?
I don't believe I saw that, and I don't know if I ever really trust those.
No, but I thought, you know, this is unverifiable, but I heard it was about $20 million.
It says estimated to be 1.7 million.
Okay, so this is a different story, but yeah, so the drug dealers just lost $1.7 million. I'm sure they're not happy.
So this was, what did I say, 900 pounds, and then they've got others of 251 pounds of meth in the Jeep and 638 pounds in the Tacoma. So they had it in 2 vehicles.
Okay.
Oh, in other news, there's a Jeep and a Tacoma that's going to be up for auction soon.
Yeah.
So you're on the lookout. So yeah, that's number one.
And if they were deported, they wouldn't have.
If they weren't here illegally, if we didn't allow this to end and we didn't allow them sanctuary in the state, this wouldn't be happening. And there's going to be people that are going to die of this meth. Not this stuff because they captured it, but this is the only people. These are just the people they caught. Illegal alien charged in May with 3 felonies and 2 gross misdemeanors in connection with a car crash. So killed somebody.
Yeah.
And, you know, if it could just save one life, well, here's the life it could have saved is from this guy. Now ICE has grabbed him and he's out.
And he'll never, and if he ever comes back, he's going to be life in prison. So.
Yeah. And I hope he gets to face some criminal charges where he went back to. I don't know which Ecuadorian. So Ecuador.
Yeah.
That's number 2 of our non-sanctuary state illegal alien getting caught. Here's a good one. Former member of Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps arrested in St. Paul. Now, this was from June 24th. This is an older story, but I just ran across it. He's a convicted felon, former member of Iran's IRGC, and has admitted connections to the terrorist organization Hezbollah. Well, isn't that nice? That he could be in this country in St. Paul. He's rocking those shorts, I'll tell you that, though.
But we're not a sanctuary state, so why is he here?
Right. How is a convicted felon still in this country? I don't get it.
Yeah, you can't even get into Canada with it if you got arrested for drunk driving.
Right.
And we're allowing guys, and Walz is allowing guys like this in and protecting them, basically.
And protecting them. He's actively fighting against the people trying to get these people out of the city, out of the state.
Yeah.
And we have another one. This is a good one. This is 11 illegal aliens, sex offenders in Minneapolis. And they list them out here. I think it's in the other article. There's 2 articles here. Second-degree sexual assault on a child. Convicted of second-degree sexual assault on a child, soliciting a minor, first-degree sexual assault, lewd and lascivious acts with a child under 14, minor, just the worst people in the world. And nearly illegal aliens, illegal foreigners, illegal nationals from other countries coming to this country and doing this to our citizens.
Right.
This is why we need to deport them all.
And this is why Walz was sitting in front of a congressional hearing.
Yes.
Saying that we're not a sanctuary state. Yeah, moron, you are. You give him, if it wasn't for the Republicans, you would have been giving them free health care. That promotes people coming here.
Right. That's why we have this influx of people that make under $25,000 a year into the state, and everybody else is fleeing for their lives because of people like Walz in charge. Tricia McLaughlin, these pedos and sex offenders are the sickos. Our brave ICE law enforcement agents are putting their lives on the line to arrest and remove. Yeah. Tim Walz referred to ICE agents as modern-day Gestapo during a commencement speech at the University of Minnesota. And just for people who don't know, the Gestapo were Adolf Hitler's secret police. So when he says we're not a sanctuary state, he has nothing to back that up. Maybe that's why he needed to be so coached before he went in front of the Congress, because he just can't. He can't back it up.
Yeah, and he just continues to say more stupid things after more stupid things. So probably what they coached him on was, okay, don't say anything. You're not smart enough to say anything, jazz hands.
I think that is what they trained him to do, just shut his yap, because he has a hard time doing that.
Yeah, every time they give him free reign, and then he does his Nazi salute. I got that on my other computer of him doing the Nazi salute. And so he understands what Gestapos are. And
yeah, he read about it in a book, or somebody told it to him. I don't know.
Well, he had 23 trips to China. I'm sure he learned it over there.
Yeah, no kidding. All right, we're doing really well tonight. 41 minutes, and we're already into violent left, and then we're going to hit national news. So we're front of schedule this time. I just have one story for the violent left, and people probably heard about this, but I wanted to point it out because I thought it was so bad that you heard about the Texas floods and all that stuff. It's horrible. Flash flooding going on. I know about flash flooding just because I've read about it, but I felt the power of water is incredible. And when I lived out in Hawaii, I watched some things about on the news, and they kind of give you a warning. They say, you can be in a river and it can be 2 days after it rained, because where I was in Hawaii, because the water was coming down, you never knew when it was going to come. But if you saw it, you can't run away in time. And it is powerful. So you always got to be on the watch out for it.
Yep.
So we've got a pediatrician here. This is the thing that kills me the most. She's a pediatrician. And basically what it came down to was, I hope everybody who's not MAGA is okay. And you are MAGA, you get what you came for. Basically, you get what you voted for. The actual just evilness of that is astounding to me.
Yeah. And I'm glad whoever employed her fired her because of it.
Yes, they did. I mean, I'm all about having freedom of speech and everything, but I as a employer, I would fire somebody for having this kind of opinion, because this opinion it's not what she said. It's the motivation behind it is so evil that Correct. How do you have a doctor? How do you believe that you're going to a doctor if she finds out you're a Republican, that she's actually going to treat your child well? You just, there's doubt, and you don't want to doubt with your doctor.
Yeah. There's just massive amounts of bias in her.
Yes.
So you find out she finds out anything about you, your kid is good as dead if you're conservative.
Could be.
And with her, maybe, who knows? But you can't have people like that around your children.
Yeah, that's just bad. And I've talked to Don about this before. We've had many conversations with this, and then you and I have talked about it too. Why, in God's name, if you're in a job like this, would you let this opinion out? I mean, this is a bad opinion anyway, but if you're an actor, don't make political statements. Even if I agree with you, I don't want to hear them. But it just taints every movie you have going back. Like Schwarzenegger, I was talking to you about this yesterday. I can't watch Schwarzenegger movies anymore, even retroactively, just because of one thing he said. And it seems petty, but what he said was, when talking about the vaccinations and masking, and he said, people are all complaining about your freedoms. Well, screw your freedoms. That was a switch to me with him. Everything that I thought he stood for, and he was in the movies, just fell apart on me. If you're a doctor, you shouldn't be making any political statements at all. just treat your patients and try to be as neutral as possible.
Correct. Yeah.
All right. So I that's one I wanted to pull out with that, but we'll move on from there and go to the national news. And I'm going to talk about the elephant in the room here. And people have been talking about the Epstein client list coming out. Now this not coming out
Now,
and being told that it doesn't even exist anymore. And Trump berating a reporter who even asked about it. Why are you even asking about this? Why are you talking about this anymore? It doesn't matter. And it just leaves the worst taste in my mouth right now. I don't believe it. I don't believe that Jeffrey Epstein would have killed himself for no reason if they had no evidence on him for wrongdoing. I don't believe that Gaswell would be in prison right now and convicted of trafficking children to men when there was no clients and no victims. So I don't believe it. I don't trust it, and I don't think it's right. And I hate it. I hate that this is happening, especially when we were promised this list and promised some action on this. I want to see these people who are abusing girls and women to go to jail. I want some action. All this shows me is if you're rich enough and powerful enough, you don't face consequences. It doesn't matter what you do. You can do the most heinous thing in the world, apparently, and you just get away with it. That's my thoughts. What do you got on it?
Well, you're completely right. And there's two things. One is what the different tiers of justice.
Yeah.
We'll get those out pretty soon. But if you're above the law, they know they're above the law. They know, so they're going to do absolutely everything that they can get away with because they're going to do it. Yeah. And number two, the administration and Pam Bondi lost so much credibility.
Yes.
Because now, she said she's coming out with it, didn't come out with it. The administration said we're coming out with it, didn't come out with it, doesn't exist. I heard the reason because of national security, which doesn't mean anything because obviously they're horrible human beings that are doing this. But you lose your credibility if you're going to say you're going to do something and you're not going to do it.
Right. And she said, I have the list. We can't release it because of some people on there that are, we have to take off or there's some national security. And then but the thing is there is no list. Well, I don't believe it. You really don't think very highly of us, do you?
Right.
I think this was I have a whole list of theories I have about this, but it doesn't do any good to go into them because I can't prove any of it. I'm so far away from it that, it's ridiculous for me to speculate what's going on. But all I can tell you is they put him in jail for a reason. He killed himself. If he killed himself, he killed himself for a reason. Maxine is in jail for a reason. And you can't tell me there's no evidence whatsoever. If the guy put all the cameras up and bragged about it, that he cameras and documentation, it was a blackmailing scheme. It comes down to who was behind it and what's being done with that information now.
Right.
But and Trump saying, just why are you even asking about this? That was I couldn't believe he did that. He'd have been best off just not to talk about it himself. That really made him look guilty of covering this up.
Right. And we're back to credibility. There's no credibility if you're saying you're going to do something. That's what Trump got into office for. He said he was going to start DOGE. He was going to do this, blah, blah, blah. And Epstein list was part of it. Nothing's coming of it.
Yeah.
That how you lose credibility.
Well, it was a really rough weekend too. Not only that, but it was like, well, we're sending more weapons to Ukraine. Oh, and they talked about amnesty, but now they're not talking about amnesty. But now he's talking about a work permit kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it was a really hard weekend to feel like you're just getting the rug pulled out from underneath you. So,
yeah.
But the biggest problem was, to me, of everything else, I'm waiting for somebody high up to finally pay a consequence for the crap they do to us. And nobody seems to have to pay a price except for us lower class.
Yeah. Yeah. We're subject to laws that they're not. And that's got to change. Until people start going in Washington, start going to jail, nothing's going to change.
Yeah. And kind of pivoting on that now, I will show another thing. So now we've talked about Trump and his administration and how I'm not very happy with this. But let me, I'm going to come up with this now. Unprecedented. It took only 2 questions for Biden's doctor to plead the 5th to protect himself from answering questions about if there was a cover-up in Biden's mental decline. Now, this is doctor. Here's the 2 crucial questions. Were you ever told to lie about the president's health? And was President Biden unfit to execute his duties? That's pretty straightforward questions.
Yep.
Pretty easy if you're a legitimate doctor with legitimate backing to say, was I ever told to lie? No. Was President Biden unfit to execute his duties? Yes. All he has to do is say that. You're pleading the 5th because you don't want to incriminate yourself. Tells you everything you need to know about what this doctor did.
Yeah, are we going to get a $400,000 bill for him?
Oh yeah,
lawyer bill because he had to prepare for this.
Yeah, exactly. So how does this guy become the doctor? You know, and James Comer is talking about how this clearly is a cover-up his decline. So what evidence do we have? Did somebody must have told him to lie about it? He must have been in cognitive decline. Who told him? You know, who else is in there? Again, just doesn't seem to be able to. We don't seem to be able to grab these guys anymore. They just slip away.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking about it earlier, and it's like, well, they might not be lying because, just like the video we showed, that female Democrat talking for them, they're just not smart enough to realize, you know, they're so dumb that they just might not realize that he is just as dumb as they are. You know, you proved it with that video earlier. So, you know, obviously, I don't know how this guy became a doctor, but still, you know, most of the Democrats that I've spoken to just really aren't that bright. So they probably never even noticed it. So
I'm so glad I have a doctor I trust.
Yeah.
And I have a physical coming up. I'm driving to the Twin Cities because I trust her. I trust my doctor. And she's like one of the only doctors I trust. And I don't know a lot of doctors, but I've tried a couple doctors here. And my simple thinking questions, when they go, oh, I hadn't thought of that. That's not the question. That's not the answer I want from a doctor. Yeah.
No, but then, you know, like the next story, I was like, well, this makes a lot more sense if nobody in the Democratic Party realized he was brain dead. You know, that's Biden was going, you know, we're going to come her talking in public, and you realize, oh, well, I guess, yeah, maybe you do have a point.
Well, yeah, kind of segues. Let's go into the next section because I'm almost getting to the point where we're going to create a Jasmine Crockett section.
Yeah, we need to. I think we need to.
I'm going to do this one a little out of order because of what you brought up. Jasmine Crockett, I never had a concern about Biden's mental state. Well, of course you didn't.
Yeah. She couldn't tell the difference, you know?
I mean, what is that old line? If you've won an argument with an idiot, you haven't really done anything.
Yeah.
You know, I think he's thinking just clearly, well, come on, Jasmine.
It's like, was it like poop telling crap it stinks or something like that? Or vomit telling poop it stinks? It's basically the same thing.
I mean, now Joe Biden is what, 80 some years old? She said she doesn't know. I mean, the 80-year-old version of Joe Biden versus the 20-something-year-old version of Biden is a little different. And I'd imagine that I would be the same. Oh my God, could she get dumber?
I don't think it's possible.
I thought that was the funniest thing, though. I have no problem with his mental abilities. Yeah, there's a reason for that, Jasmine.
Yeah.
And just if you think I'm coming up with that opinion by nothing, let's show a couple other clips because, like I said, Jasmine just gives us material every week, which is great.
Right.
Except for the fact that she actually is in a position of power. So let's go to what she talks about for people that were shooting at President Trump.
The violence doesn't come from Democrats, just to be clear. I mean, obviously anyone can be a criminal, but it is MAGA. It's specifically MAGA faction. Like, I don't think traditional Republicans are getting engaged in all of this, but like, even when we look at, and they don't talk about the assassination attempts anymore that took place with Donald Trump, but these were Trump supporters, right? As well as this most recent situation, they tried to flip it and say, oh, the leftists are, I'm like, this doesn't even make sense, right? But it's only like MAGA that does this. The violence does.
So it was Trump supporters who tried to shoot him and kill him.
Yeah.
God, making my brain hurt. So please support me less.
Yeah, basically.
You know, I mean, what do you do to the people you don't like if this is how you treat the people you support? Jasmine. God bless you, Jasmine. Don't ever change. So, and then Jasmine had also some thoughts about the Texas floods because she's from Texas. Let me just show you how she's feeling the pain and empathy for the people that are suffering for losing loved ones and so far and losing their houses and stuff.
So anyway, I just wanted to jump on because my heart is truly heavy for all of these families. The sad part is I think that my heart is going to carry a level of weight that will continue to weigh me down as we have to continue to do our best to survive an administration that literally is against us.
So she's tied it back now to the Trump administration somehow.
Right.
An administration that is doing everything in my mind to hurt us. And
it's doing everything in my mind to hurt us. That is exactly the right phrase she should use because it's only in her little mind that this is happening.
Not help us. And it feels like we're fending for ourselves.
Just can't take her anymore. Will we have to make a Crockett? We'll have to decide that next week. She may give us more material to work with. But just remember, folks, if you're having a hard time in a flood, you're impacting her because she's going to have to carry that around with her. Poor Tang. Poor Tang.
Yeah. And well, I mean, there's a lot of rumors going around about the flooding, but still, I showed you the video of the blue water
That's
coming
bizarre.
down in there. And they were geoengineering 2 days prior to that, which supposedly increases rainfall by 10%. It was already known as Flood Valley. So it was already, prone to that happening.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're seeding geoengineering at the same time. That's not a Trump thing. That's a Democrat thing.
Well, that's been happening for multiple years. So, but it's bizarre, and I need some firsthand video or people I know that I trust to show that, because that blue water, you can produce that. I don't know. I don't trust half the things. And again, this is a good time to say it. Everything I'm posting here, go do your own research. We're telling you what we know sitting in this little city up here in Minnesota. So, we don't have firsthand knowledge for some of this stuff. But yeah, you showed me a video and I don't have it here, but it was very bizarre because people were showing puddles and on their tarps and stuff, this pure blue water. It was unnatural. I would not want to touch it.
No, I did some research on it, and they said it was a natural phenomenon due to ice crystals in there. But then the more you read in the article, it was, environmentalists. It was very extreme environmentalists. So that they're going to say anything to get their point across and say, it's a natural phenomenon. And so you can't trust the source. Right. So I need to do a lot more digging to see what the actual truth of this blue water coming down is. So
right. Let's see. Oh, do you remember Hakeem Jeffries?
It's hard to forget the world record holder for filibustering.
Filibuster, yeah. He went, how long did he go? 26 hours?
Yeah, I think 26 hours.
I think he was wearing an adult diaper, and he went on, so he was the king of the filibuster.
Yeah.
So let's just take a look at what he had to say about filibusters. And he's talking to the most reverend here.
Congressman, you tweeted yesterday that the filibuster is a racially tinged artifact of the Jim Crow era. We cannot let it stand in the way of progress.
High priority issues for the American people that are being held up in the Senate right now because of the presence of the filibuster. And so a minority of senators are allowed to block progress for the majority of the American people. And that's something that has to change. Filibuster was first deployed by Senator Calhoun in the run-up to the Civil War to try to protect white supremacy.
Okay, I'll stop it right there. We'll go on, but so he's going back to why it was used way back.
Yep.
And had to bring in white supremacy, obviously, to make his point.
As well as the institution of slavery. And then in terms of its modern form, it was really deployed in the early part of the 20th century to stop civil rights legislation, including anti-lynching legislation that passed the House of Representatives.
Well, he's really being able to tie this in very hard to a lot of racist stuff. I don't know why, because it is a procedural thing. And It's been forever in lots of different countries.
In the early part of the 20th century, but could never break through a Senate filibuster. And that is part of the legacy of the absence of progress that we're still living with to this day.
That was 4 years ago he said that.
Yeah.
He sure has come around, hasn't he?
Well, it's a little ironic too that he's talking about the filibuster up to the Civil War because the Democrats were against freeing the slaves. He's a Democrat.
Yeah, that's right. Isn't it the first Republican president that freed the slaves?
Correct. Yeah.
And then
he was talking about the lynchings. Well, yeah, the Democrats still wanted that too. We'll skip that part of the truth. We'll just glaze over that. But yeah, the Democrats have been using the filibuster to stop the forward progression of the Black community, and now is it based in racism? Yeah, right. But the Democrats based it in racism.
But that's not what the filibuster itself is not a racist thing. It's just a procedural tool used by the people in the minority to stop things going through. And watch Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. Yep. That was the classic thing of him doing a filibuster until he collapses.
Right.
But for Hakeem to go 4 years later from saying that to then using it as his own tool to stop things, it's amazing. It's just, they don't care. It's like they don't have any morals whatsoever. They just do whatever they want.
And then now we're back to of course they didn't realize Biden was mentally unfit because they're not unfit. They're unfit.
You're making a very strong case for this.
Yeah. So we just, Hakeem Jeffries and Crockett, they just prove the point.
It's
how many more do we need?
I've heard that when you're writing a script for a movie, the main characters can't be smarter than the person writing it, which is showing up quite a bit in the latest movies. Well, it's kind of like this too. You can't tell if somebody's stupid if you're stupider than that person, I guess.
Right.
Okay, let's do a little bit of shift because this is good stuff. But I found this incredible to see this conversation happening. Now, this is former First Lady Michelle Obama speaking with Julia Louis-Dreyfus. Now, I looked it up, and they say that Michelle Obama's net worth is $70 million. Yeah. Remember, she held jobs almost 10 years of her life. And her husband was in office for 8 years as president, and what, 2 years as a senator or 4 years as senator?
So, yeah, it was like 2 or 4. Yeah, something like that. It wasn't.
And they're
very-
multimillionaires. Talking to Julia Louis-Dreyfus, who was born into a $1 billion fortune
Yeah.
and then was on Seinfeld. So her net worth is reported at $250 million.
Well, I thought it was. I heard like it was like 900 or 950.
That's her inheritance money. So this is
Oh.
just money she's earned by herself.
Oh, okay.
You know, Seinfeld residuals, and then she's been in many other things, and then she was in the Marvel stuff recently.
Okay.
And you know, she's been doing that since she was in her 20s. You know, every opportunity these guys were given on a silver platter. And remember when Obama was in office, that was the most light-touched presidency I've ever seen. The press couldn't say anything about it. Comedians wouldn't say anything about it, right? So they were just given hand over fist everything. She was on the cover of Vogue how many times? You know, Trump's wife, who's an actual model, has never been on it, but she was on it 3 times. Here's the conversation they're having.
Women, we have so many landmines and barriers and don'ts and limitations. It's, you know, I mean, Craig, you're the guy at the table, but I think it's important for all guys listening, especially men raising daughters, to realize that difference, you know, and that thing that inadvertently, as you are loving and raising these beautiful girls, there's so many rules that make us small,
baked in without our knowing it. You know, and I wish I could. I mean, I remember people saying, "Oh, well, she's a female doctor," as opposed to just she's a doctor.
Women, we have.
They're so oppressed, Dave. I feel so badly for them both.
Yes.
That picture behind Michelle Obama was more than I make in a year. But
yeah.
You know, probably the cups they're using are $30,000 cups for their coffee. That set she's been on, it's like $200,000 probably to build that set for her for a little podcast. You know, and we spent $75,000-$100,000 on ours, but
well, yeah, I mean the hula girl behind you, that was what, 75 cents?
Oh,
I mean, that was
almost $1.
Almost $1, yeah. So
it strikes me as funny when I see stuff like that, when you got these people who have been given nothing but opportunity complaining about the opportunity in this country. It's just it's such ingratitude and such unawareness of just how luxurious their lives are. Julia was born into a family where she never would have had to work a day in her life. Now, to her credit, she does a great job. I mean, I love watching her on Seinfeld. I just enjoy that show like immensely, but she didn't have to. I mean, if she had not worked a day in her life, she would be 5% less money in her life.
Right.
She had that much money coming in. And Michelle, you know, it's, you know, reading about her background, she's a smart kid. She did well in school. She went to college. She then worked in the government. And then she got married to a guy that went up and became president. And she's been a multimillionaire ever since. Whoo! Oh, my. What a tough life I've had. God.
There's so many roadblocks to her.
I know.
How did she ever become successful when there were so many roadblocks?
I don't know. It's amazing.
Yeah.
All right. So that was my fun little one. I want to talk about the American Federation of Teachers Union put out a tweet recently, and let me pull it up here before I'll show you this, Dave. I don't know if you've seen this, but this is great stuff. Hoping this number 4 RTH of July, the sun starts peaking with an A through THRU. This is the American Federation of Teachers Union president. This is the level.
Maybe that's why she's quitting.
And I think she had to correct it 4 times before she got it right. Now, somebody wrote, 4th time's a charm. And it says she's had a problem with fourth before. She does not know how to abbreviate fourth. Pretty amazing. So that makes me fearful for the schools. And but now I'm going to show you the Chicago Teachers Union president and give you a little insight on how well she communicates. Let's pull this up. Here we go.
Like, yo, people going to the beach tomorrow. They celebrating and fireworks. Ain't no damn America. Yeah, clap, because that was hard. Because the union is the catch basin. We will have members that are a part of this struggle or a part of this struggle or a part of that struggle or no struggle at all. And you make other people make decisions when you make a decision. When organized people make decisions, other people have to react to those decisions. So the reimagination of this.
My mind is blown by that, by the way. If you make a decision, you do something, people have to react to it. Do you not understand this?
Was she taking speaking classes from Harris? You know,
I know. I thought that when I was watching Jasmine Crockett too. I was like, who is teaching these guys this? It's crazy. So
it makes sense.
Decisions. So the reimagination of this place that we are trying to save, but kind of not because we ain't out here saving it.
Run that through a couple of times through the brain filter and see if you can come up with an idea what she's trying to say.
One stuff like shout out to CTU. And so you build a militancy and a coalition where if it has to go down, it goes down. You call the strike. So I belong to a caucus called the Rank and File. Who are we? The Caucus of Rank and File.
Okay. I know they're splicing this together, so it's a little unfair because this isn't her. Yeah. This isn't a contiguous speech. This is just taking slices out. But if she goes on, and I don't want to go through the whole thing, but it sounds like she's just basically wants to tear it all down. She doesn't think this is a good environment. She doesn't think this is a good country. Again, why are you here? And why aren't you trying to make it better? And instead of complaining about it, do something about it, not destructively.
Well, yeah, and she wasn't using proper English in a lot of those statements either. So, you know, you can't teach a child proper English when she herself doesn't know how to speak it.
Right.
You know, shout out to whoever, whatever she said. It's like,
it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. Listen, I heard some people in the Skyway today, and they were speaking English, but I could not make out 5 words of what they're saying.
Yeah.
Like, enunciate. Have a common language, and then we can all communicate together. This division of communication is just horrible.
Right.
Moving on to something new. Somebody pointed this out, and I didn't really wonder. I didn't really think about it, but the LA riots kind of disappeared.
What happened to the LA riots? It's like all at once, they disappeared, completely stopped out of nowhere. Well, that wasn't a coincidence. The Department of Justice announced that they would begin investigating those funding the riots and prosecuting them. Once that announcement was made, the riots stopped.
Amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, what a coincidence, huh?
You see, these protests and these riots, they're funded. They're not organic. This is not true free speech. This is paid speech. This is paid manipulation of the public. The people funding these attacks on our nation should be discovered and prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. Think about it. Where are they? They disappeared. And now you know why. I'm Armstrong Williams.
Couldn't have said it better.
Yeah. Yeah, how quickly it, normally it slows up a little bit, but this one was immediately gone.
Yeah. And the interesting thing too is I was driving here today a little late, and I drove past, God, where were these protesters this time? I think they were in front of the mall. I don't know what they were protesting, but they all had the same rain jackets on because it was raining out. And they looked pretty high end, but all red. I didn't know if it was what was that one where the women were all red and it was like Coat Maiden's
Handmaid's
Tale or something like that. So yeah, I don't know if that was what they were doing or if it was just they got the same raincoats, but it was all the same outfit. There was like 7 of them. Some of them a lot. But you notice these protests, they all have these professional signs. They all look the same. They show up. There's food, there's water, there's pallet of bricks sometimes. And I think the Department of Justice is doing the right thing. Go after the money. Because if you're going to have a protest, it should be organic. It shouldn't be organized by people and paid for by people.
Right. Well, isn't there an Essentia thing up by the mall? Because the nurses were wearing red.
But I thought that strike was settled.
Well, they settled it like half of them. So there's different divisions through Essentia, but according to the local news last night, that they are still protesting the main building on 3rd Street or wherever it is.
Okay.
So sections of it are still striking.
At least if it's that, I can see the union providing that kind of stuff. That makes more sense to me, a union strike, not protests in general.
Does Essentia have something near the mall, or I wonder if they moved because all their shirts were red.
They're in the mall. Essentia took over the old what was it, Glass Block?
Okay, so maybe that instead of disorganized protest, maybe it was the nurses' strike. Who knows?
That makes more sense to me. At least I can.
At least it makes sense,
right?
Last week they were protesting up at Stauber's office up in Hermantown, but it was all these different organizations and nobody, the signs didn't make any sense again. Once again, it was just random and you didn't know what they were actually protesting. So,
right. All right. I'm going to go through a couple more illegal nationals in our country stories. And this is not about necessarily the people themselves. It's about the news reporting on it. So there you got MSNBC and you got CNN pulling at the heartstrings as hard as they can to make this an emotional issue because that's what they want to do. So I'll do this first one. And the first one is about a guy who's self-deporting. So he's decided that he's been working at a restaurant, but he's seeing the signs of what's coming. And if he wants to come back, what he needs to do is self-deport, and then he can then come back. Because if they catch you, if I deport you, you can't come back.
Correct.
That's what they're saying right now. But the article is all about how horrible this is. And the employer is like, oh, we base this whole thing on him. And he knows he's an illegal alien. And I skip forward to a certain part of it. And we're going to talk, the employer is going to talk here.
I was kind of messed with the employees' morals,
Let me just back it up just a little bit.
The team.
I was kind of messed with the employees' morals. They're just like, they're not as happy, or they're afraid to go to that court date.
They're messing with their morals. I'm sure he didn't just read that. I'm sure he knows what morale is. He just doesn't know how to say it properly because he's never actually spoken it all. They haven't fed him something to say, I'm sure.
Right.
But yeah, this guy is complaining. This guy should be investigated for hiring illegal aliens from outside the country. And this is like 15 years. This guy has been here. Seems like a good guy, knows how to cook. Well, he came here when he was like 19 years old or 17 years old. He's got a 15-year-old son he has never seen before.
Nice.
Go home. Take care of your family.
Right.
Second story is CBS News. This is a girl that's being deported, and she was at community college. Now, she came here, and I think I've got it queued up to explain a little bit about her. So here we go.
Came here illegally at age 15, but was granted special juvenile immigration status and was in the process of obtaining a green card.
She had a social security number, she and her mother, and they had working permits.
She had a social security number. She is an illegal national from another country, and somehow she got a social security number. what I read was in the Biden administration in the last 4 years, people were being sent Social Security numbers after they came here and after a month or two. There was no vetting. They were just getting Social Security numbers because they were trying to flood this country with Democratic voters so they could fleece this system over and over and over again.
Yep.
He just said, she came here when she was 15. She's going out of community college. She's been here about 8 years. She's got her Social Security number and she's illegally in this country. It doesn't make any sense. And
well, yeah, you're right. But it also has to do with the census and the voting, because they've figured out that the illegals will majority vote Democrats. So and then in California, they count the illegals in their census. As soon as they get rid of the illegals, California loses 2 electoral votes and 2 representative members.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
Yeah, it's a big deal. They'd start losing power. And because it's already Democratic, that's against the rules as far as they're concerned.
Well, they're estimating the really conservative estimate is like 15 million illegals. It's probably more like 30 to 45 million illegal immigrants in this country that shouldn't be voting. And that is swaying elections because it's giving states where they go to, like California, more power, and they shouldn't get that power. And that's forcing the rest of the country to do all the stuff that California does, which we don't want to do.
Right.
And last thing is in national news is California, 6 months, less than 100 building permits have been issued. However, I saw that Newsom is fast tracking multi-unit low-income housing for that area.
Oh, yeah.
So the thing burns down and then they put in the housing they've always wanted. It makes me fearful for Duluth. It honestly does, because they've tried the last couple of years to pass laws so they can do multi-unit dwellings in this place. All they need is a fire to clear out some areas, and then they can do that if they want to. Now, I'm not saying the California fires were set intentionally. That's not what my point is. My point is they seem to take any advantage they can of any kind of disaster like this to do what their politics they want to do. These people have been suffering for 6 months and they don't have any permit. 100 permits, that's nothing.
Yeah. When the state is intentionally making sure that you can't rebuild.
Right.
I mean, if you read the article, most of the people are just leaving California because they know they'll never, in their lifetime, they'll never be able to rebuild. It'll be very, too long down the road. So.
Right. Adam Carolla predicted this, and Adam Carolla's, I can't remember. I sent you a link to one of his things. He was just freaking hilarious, but he said this is going to happen, and here it is. When you got crazy eyes and crazy eyes,
right?
It's not a good combination. Now, endless red tape. Yeah, that's California. Apparently, it's got the most beautiful weather you could ever, want. I don't believe it because I've been on Maui, but California is apparently just really gorgeous and just got destroyed.
And they're keeping it that way.
Right. Yeah. Look at this. I mean, you can't see anything, any kind of development. It's one house here.
Yeah. So they're just, I don't know what their point is or why it's so important to be the permits so slow. But I've heard it takes 8 different permits to build a house.
Jeez.
And it must be just a money grab for the state because it's,
I wouldn't doubt it.
Ridiculous.
And then that's the last of our national news, unless you have something else.
No, that's about it.
All right. Well, I'll keep this up and we'll go to the international news. I found this interesting, and I'll talk about another one I don't have a link to. The French government has decided it's going to introduce an amendment to reduce the coverage of migrant crime stories because they don't like those. So they're going to force them not to talk about it. This reminds me of the problem down in the Twin Cities when we were down there, and they were having a problem with they were expelling too much of one race of kids. So their solution was to not expel anybody. And then they were able to go the next year and go fix that problem.
Yep.
So just, stop talking about it. That's not like a pressure cooker, just ready to make people explode.
And I've even heard stories of the Twin Cities about they've called 911 and 911 says, well, we don't have anyone to send to your house to report the crime. And then because there was no cop showing up at your house, there was no report filed.
Right.
Therefore, crime's gone down.
Right. We talked about that in one of the shows. One of the restaurateurs who's shutting down there said, yeah, why call the cops? They won't come. So yeah, of course crime is going down because nobody's reporting it because there's nothing being done about it.
Correct. So, if you don't hear about it, it must be getting better.
Exactly. And in kind of a related story, England's got a lot of problems right now with riots and everything. But there was a guy that he was wearing a poster board and he said, transgenderism is a mental disease. That's all it was. He wasn't yelling, he wasn't screaming, he wasn't blocking traffic, he wasn't getting people's ways. He was just wearing this thing. 11 police came to arrest him. There was 11 of them.
Yep.
And the person videoing it was counting 1, 2, 3. Yep. There's 11 cops to put him in jail because he wore a poster board that said something that was not approved, which I believe is true, but
well, yeah, I heard a nun was thrown in jail because she had a 8x5 sign, 8-inch by 5-inch sign that says, "Would you like to talk?" But she was in the 1 block area of the abortion clinic.
Oh, right.
Yep. So that's against the law. You can't talk to anybody within that area. So they threw her in jail.
Well, they arrested that one woman who was silently praying across the street.
Yep.
And she was just standing there. She wasn't making emotions. All she was doing is standing across the street from the abortion clinic. The cops walked up, asked her, "Are you praying?" She said, "Yes, I am." They arrest her twice now. I think it's in Philadelphia too. I think it was in the United States where this happened.
Oh, the one I heard was in England, but
maybe
that's become right now, if you're an American and you say something wrong and you fly into England and they happen to notice your posts on social media are against something that they believe in, they'll arrest you on the spot.
Jeez.
Right. So
I guess I got to make the podcast private before I go over there.
Yeah. Well, basically, yeah, because you fly over there and they don't like something we said in the last 24 episodes.
Right.
That they're going to instantaneously throw you in jail because they don't want that kind of stuff over there. So they're having a real problem with free speech in England for some reason.
They are. Yeah, it's non-existent in England. It is very much. You want to talk about Nazis? We did this last week about the difference between liberals and conservatives in the Nazi Party.
Yeah,
that's one of the things is closing down free speech and taking away your guns. That's England right there. That's two of the big ones right there.
Yep, definitely.
That's all I had for international news. I haven't been scouring it. I've been really busy. Again, this is like I've been not complaining about this, but using this as an excuse for weeks. But my life is just very busy. So
it happens. Things happen and you get busy and
yeah, exactly.
But we're still able to discuss it for an hour and a half and probably another hour and a half that we talked about last night that we can't see on the air.
That's right.
Especially in this country.
That's the blue version of this show.
So
all right, so let's go into health and fitness, and then we'll wrap it up here for the night. You found this graph, so why don't you go through it?
I thought it was kind of interesting. They were talking about, what does it help? What does exercise help? And it
reduces your risk of, and then it goes through this, right?
Yeah, reduces your risk of dementia, hip fractures, reduces your depression, reduces breast cancer, colon cancer, type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and all-cause mortality. Everything is going down because of you just get out and exercise. So this was a good proof that you just need to get out there and start moving, you know.
I think too that the depression, 30%, I think it's more than depression. I think it's just mental illness in general.
Correct. Yeah.
The depression is a big part of it, but it's getting out there and just exercising for depression for sure. It just gives you something to do where you're not thinking so much about whatever your current problem is.
Right.
I have the same experience when I go to a good movie. I used to have that experience. I haven't been to a good movie in years now, but at least I could get away for a couple hours and just stop thinking about it. And that stop thinking about it for even 20 minutes is really good for you. Because people go through some pretty horrible stuff and you can't not think about it all the time. But there's got to be a time where your body just has to recover. It's almost like going into a REM sleep cycle where you're just not, where you're concentrating so hard on just getting through something that everything else fades away. And I think that's really good for your whole life.
Yeah, and it boosts your endorphins, and that's always a positive thing that your body reacts to.
Mm-hmm.
That's almost like a happiness gene. So just getting out there and exercising is good. And then I found another scientific proof that, you know, food is medicine.
Yeah. This, you have a bunch of words on here I'm not going to try to say because it's going to make me look like an idiot.
Well, that's why I wanted you to say them instead of me, because I didn't want to sound like an idiot.
So basically eat pears and then strawberries. I don't have in this screenshot, but strawberries was good for decreasing insulin resistance in obese people.
Yeah.
And improves metabolism.
Yep. Yeah. So pears shrinks body fat, improves energy balance, and reverses metabolic syndrome. And then strawberries can decrease insulin resistance in obese persons to improve metabolism. So, you know, we're back up to the upper chart where for type 2 diabetes. So,
right.
You know, you should be eating your fruits and vegetables is basically what the article says.
Right.
Don't think of it as a punishment or anything. Just that's what you need, you know, all the time, every single week. So.
Yeah, and some people are confused about when we say type 2 diabetes. There's two types of diabetes. There's type 1 and type 2. The way they differentiate them is type 1 you get because your pancreas is basically attacked by your body and shuts down. So it stops creating insulin. It doesn't matter your weight, doesn't matter your age. It can happen to anybody. It's not because you ate too much. It's not because you like sugar too much. It's just something that happened in your body. Your immune system attacks your pancreas. Type 2 diabetes is when you start becoming insulin resistant for a couple of reasons. Mostly it's because you're obese. So fatty tissue builds up outside your organs and the blood, the insulin can't get through to your body. So you become insulin resistant, your blood sugar rises. Or I think when you get old, it just naturally happens to a lot of people as they get older. Just like dementia is like one of those natural things. Sooner or later, you're going to get it. You're going to get cancer. I mean, it's one of those things that's a life-ending thing when you're really old. But those are the two types. So type 1 is, it doesn't matter what he did.
Doesn't matter.
It happened.
Luck of the draw, yeah.
You can't tell by a person looking at them if they've got type 1. Somebody who's morbidly obese most likely will have type 2 diabetes, especially as they get past probably like 40 years old. You're like really running the lottery of not getting it. And then people who are even slightly obese, you know, it just naturally comes to be. I think Black people and indigenous people are more likely to have type 2 diabetes for whatever reason. So it's just a natural thing, part of your body. Even if they're not obese, even if they're active, they can get it. So,
yeah, which doesn't make any sense to me, but I haven't done any of the studies, so who knows?
Yeah, it's genetics, I guess. So
yeah, so.
All right. Well, I've run and worked out. I've got my Fitbit tracker and I've hit all 5 of my days this week already today because I went for a walk today. So yay for me.
Yep.
Aren't you something?
Yeah, I've been extremely busy recently also, so I haven't been out, but I've got my lifting in. I've got a few walks in, nothing exciting. I'll be really busy until next Wednesday.
We went lifting last week, and I was supposed to go to a play, and then it turned out we didn't go to that place. So I ended up lifting. Thank God, because when you only go once a week, it's really tough on your body.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely felt that lifting last night. Yeah.
I got home and it felt like somebody took a bat to me. So that was fun. So,
yeah.
all right. Well, we're scooting out of here at a $1.35. That's not bad.
Yep.
I hope if you watch this, you liked what you saw. If you have suggestions, please let us know. We're just here to talk about subjects and not get into kind of a crazy yelling, screaming match. We're just going to talk about things. We don't claim we're right. We don't think we're wrong, but we're just talking about it. And that's where people listen, and hopefully we'll learn something and teach us something too. So I hope you like this. Next week, we've got a couple of special events coming up. I will say that Mike Amory from American Experiment will be on the show. He's scheduled to be on the show next Thursday live with us. And then I have a special interview. We have a special interview coming up early next week, but I don't want to announce that until it's actually been in the can. So we'll do that next week. So we might have 2 episodes dropping next week. I know we've got tens of fans that are waiting for it, but hey,
yeah,
this is important. And I think the people that watch it, hopefully are enjoying it. So I know people are watching it. I know we were getting more views, it seems, week to week, which is nice. And this is why we're doing it. We have a good time, and I hope you have a good time too. So until next week, Thursday at 6 o'clock, I'm Sean.
I'm Dave.
And this has been the Duluth Conservative. Please like and subscribe, and we will see you next week.